Welcome to our channel, Booked Review. Today, we're embarking on a deep dive into a book that, well, it's definitely sparked a lot of talk about money, work, life itself, really. Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah,
Our mission here isn't just, a book report. We want to unpack its core ideas, pull out the important insights, and really look at the actionable stuff, the things to try it suggests for changing how we think about and handle money. You sent us a great review pointing out what hit home, so we're ready to explore why it's such a phenomenon and what lessons stick. Okay, let's unpack this. So, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It came out back in 1997. And right away, it does things differently with its structure. Kiyosaki builds his whole argument by comparing these two father figures, his own dad, the poor dad, and his best friend's dad, the rich dad. And this isn't just a story gimmick, is it? It feels like a deliberate way to challenge, well, pretty much everything we normally hear about money, school, and building wealth. It makes you think about those different paths.
absolutely. And that contrast is how he really hammers home that central idea. The poor and middle class work for money. The rich have money work for them.
Hmm.
That's not just a catchy phrase. It's the core philosophy he wants you to get. He really stresses that success isn't just about earning more salary. It's about getting financial education, learning how money actually works so you can make it work for you,
Hmm.
which right away brings up a big question. What does that actually look like, having money work for you? What are some practical things to try to get there?
That is the big question, isn't it? And the book helps by laying out 10 chapters, but focusing on 6 core lessons. Each one seems to offer these distinct things to try, ways to shift how we approach our finances. Not just theory, but philosophies to consider. Let's walk through them.
Okay, lesson one. The rich don't work for money. Now, this isn't about being lazy or not working. It's deeper. It challenges that idea that your time is your main asset. Kiyosaki kind of argues if you're just paid for hours, you're limited. The real insight, I think, is that knowledge and capital, those can be leveraged way more than just hours worked. It changes what work means for getting wealthy.
Yeah.
So maybe the first thing to try is just a mindset shift. See your income not just to spend, but as a tool, something to deploy to make more capital.
Right. That idea of making money work for you needs some building blocks. Which brings us to lesson 2, why teach financial literacy? This is where he gets into that really fundamental difference between assets and liabilities, isn't it?
Exactly. And his definitions are super simple, but wow, they have big implications. He just says assets put money in your pocket, liabilities take money out. It's not just accounting talk. It's like a filter for every financial move you make. It's practical. Take your home, for example. Most people think it's their biggest asset, right? But Kiyosaki would say, well, is it putting money in your pocket? Or are mortgage, taxes, upkeep taking money out? The real aha moment here, I think, is realizing how many things we buy thinking they're assets, but by his definition, they're liabilities draining cash. Nailing this difference down is a huge financial habit to try cultivating.
And once that clicks, lesson 3, mind your own business, starts to make a lot more sense. This isn't literally quit your job now, right? It's about building your own thing.
Precisely. It's about intentionally building and owning assets that generate passive income. Money that flows in, whether you're actively working at that moment or not. Think things like rental properties, dividend stocks, maybe royalties from something you created, or even a side business that runs itself eventually. The thing to try here is actively creating income streams not directly tied to your hours. It's about designing a system, really, a key step towards financial independence.
Okay, lesson 4, the history of taxes and the power of corporations. This one can feel a bit intimidating. It suggests the wealthy operate under different rules, legally speaking.
Yeah, this is where he says you need to understand the rules of the game. He argues that wealthy people often use corporations and tax strategies legally to protect their wealth and help it grow faster. It's not about tax evasion. It's about understanding the financial system's structure, the incentives, and using them effectively. Connecting it back, the thing to try might be to actually learn a bit about tax laws or corporate structures as they apply to you, seeing them not just as burdens, but potentially as tools for building wealth, leveraging the system.
Then lesson 5, the rich invent money. That sounds almost like alchemy, but it's more about mindset and spotting opportunities, right? Not literally printing cash.
Exactly. It's not magic. It's about creativity and what he calls financial intelligence.
Mhm.
It's about seeing needs, solving problems in new ways, creating value where maybe others don't see it, finding a deal, structuring it right. This lesson really pushes an entrepreneurial mindset, thinking outside the box when it comes to generating income. So a thing to try here is consciously working on your creative problem-solving skills, but specifically in a financial context, seeing financial problems as potential opportunities.
And the final lesson, number 6, work to learn, don't work for money. This one feels really counterintuitive, especially if you've been focused on climbing the ladder in one career. Kiyosaki's saying keep learning, keep shifting.
Yeah, he emphasizes constantly picking up diverse skills, even if they aren't directly for your current job description. Things like sales, marketing, negotiation, understanding investments. He warns against getting stuck in just one narrow field. The idea is that real security comes from being adaptable, having a wide skill set, not just relying on one employer. So the thing to try is proactively looking for skills to learn that broaden your abilities, beyond just your job title. It's a big mindset shift, building a toolkit for yourself.
So beyond those 6 lessons, there are these bigger aha moments, these core concepts he really drills down on. Let's zoom in on a couple that seem especially key for trying new approaches. This is where it gets quite interesting.
Definitely need to revisit assets versus liabilities again. It's just so fundamental. That simple test, money in your pocket or money out, that's where it gets real for people. It often forces you to reevaluate things you thought were assets, like your car, maybe even your house, depending on the situation. Are they actually liabilities by his definition? The thing to try is that constant evaluation. Is this thing I own or am buying truly adding to my income stream, or is it draining it? It's about developing those smart financial habits through that lens. Another really big one is how fear and greed drive our financial decisions. Kiyosaki spends a lot of time on this. He argues these emotions, fear of losing money or greed for fast profits. They made people do irrational things. Fear stops you from investing. Greed pushes you into risky bets. He says overcoming these, making decisions based on logic and financial principles, not just gut feelings, is critical, which makes you ask yourself, right, how do my emotions affect my financial choices? What things to try could I do to be more rational about money? And then there's that controversial point about school versus the real world.
He basically says traditional schools train people to be good employees, follow rules, seek job security. But they don't teach you how to manage money, grow it independently, or spot opportunities outside a standard job. He sees a big gap there. So maybe a crucial thing to try implies is taking charge of your own financial education, looking beyond what formal schooling offered, becoming a student of money, lifelong.
It really is amazing how a book from '97 still generates so much discussion. Over 40 million copies sold. It clearly hit a nerve. What do you think gives it that power? What are its real strengths?
I think there are a few key things. First, it's just written simply. It's relatable. Kiyosaki makes complex ideas feel easy to grasp, even if you know nothing about finance to start with. Second, it's undeniably motivational. Lots of people say it gave them a totally new mindset, like a wake-up call about financial possibilities. Third, the core concepts are accessible. You can understand the asset liability thing pretty quickly, and that rich dad versus poor dad comparison, it's super memorable. It sticks with you.
Okay, but no book is perfect, right? Especially one this disruptive. For people thinking about practical things to try based on it, what are the main criticisms or maybe warnings?
I got to look at both sides. A major criticism is that it's heavy on philosophy, but maybe light on the specific how-to. It says buy assets, but doesn't always give detailed steps or realistic examples for beginners. Some also say it oversimplifies things, like investing in real estate or starting a business. It sounds easy in the book, but the real risks aren't always fully discussed. Then there's the whole question about whether Rich Dad was a real person or, more of a symbol. Does it matter? Maybe, maybe not, but it's a point critics raise. And some worry it can seem to glorify taking big risks, maybe without enough caution about managing that risk, which is a good reminder, really. Never rely on just one source for financial advice. Do your homework.
So weighing the strengths and the criticisms, what's the final word on its impact? Its legacy?
Oh, the impact is huge. Undeniable. 40 million copies, translated everywhere. It absolutely started a global conversation about financial literacy, maybe like nothing before it. It's inspired countless people, entrepreneurs, investors, regular folks, to just think differently about money, to maybe try new things. And the legacy goes beyond the book, right? There's the whole series, the cash flow games, seminars. It clearly tapped into a need, prompting millions to get more active in managing their financial future.
And wrapping up with the review you sent, it gives Rich Dad Poor Dad a solid 4 out of 5 stars. The recommendation is especially for finance beginners, young adults, anyone really looking for that mindset shift. It frames it perfectly, I think. Not a step-by-step guide, but an excellent starting point to grasp why financial education matters and maybe change your whole perspective.
So maybe the final thought to leave everyone with, tying back to Kiyosaki's core message, given this emphasis on taking control of your own financial learning, and trying new approaches, what's just one small thing to try? Maybe it's a habit shift, maybe a skill to learn, maybe just reading one challenging article that you can start exploring for your own financial journey, starting today.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. See you next. Bye-bye.